Alrighty, so today for Project Rebuild, we've got an interesting project here. Cables is kind of an important part of Project Rebuild, and you got to get wires from one place to another and keep it as clean as possible. So, I'll show you what we're doing here. So we've got our sacristy rack right over there, and right now I'm trying to run one of the cables, actually a couple cables, to a different part of the sacristy, and to keep it super clean, to go underneath the sacristy. I really hope that if you're ever trying to run cables like this, it won't be quite this difficult for you. But here's kind of what I got to do to make this happen. This is called an impact driver. Picked it up at Harbor Freight today, and at the end of it, it's got a drill bit. This is a 1-inch drill bit. And so the reason I say I hope you won't have to do this is this sacristy has about 6 inches of concrete before you reach the other side. And then once you get to the concrete, then you have about an 1/8 inch of steel. So I started this one out with this thinner drill bit. This is a 1/4 inch. And then so to work as a guide, and then using this other wider drill bit. I'm going to be running especially HDMI cords through there. This is going to be specifically for live stream, connecting computers and kind of making a little workstation over here. So pastor said, yeah, you can drill a hole just as long as you keep it super clean. And he said, don't ruin the new carpet. So, all right, trying not to ruin the carpet here. So far, so good. I was able to cut out just a little rectangle here, and then just within my rectangle, start drilling, starting with the smaller 1/4 inch. Now, what I'm going to need to do is probably do 2, or I'm planning on 3 holes side by side, and that way I can get the width of the cables and multiple cables going, because I at least need to fit the end of an HDMI cord in there, and that's almost an inch in itself. It would fit singly inside just a 1-inch hole, but I'm hoping to fit 2 or 3 different cables through this. So I'll give you a close look. Right over there. Ta-da! So far, so good. I haven't quite made it to the bottom with the 1-inch yet. I'm taking a little break, because what this impact driver does is it's not a normal drill. What it actually does is it hammers along the way, along with the rotation. And so the end of this drill bit actually is kind of a chisel. And it's been doing a beautiful job so far of making a perfect round hole. So I'm here underneath the sacristy, and you can see it's super nice that the 1/4 inch, which is a thinner drill bit, was able to go straight through. I know it's dark, I'm sorry. Right over there. Which means I know exactly where I gotta drill it bigger. Obviously the 1/4 inch, the whole inch wasn't able to go through, but that's fine. So right now, I got this, it's a little bit brighter over here. I got this drill bit I'll be using. It's actually got a diamond tip on there. It's 1 inch as well, and this should be able to go through the metal just fine. And don't forget your goggles, super important. But take a look at this. Look at this beautiful hole. You know what? So I did the 1 and then the 2nd, and actually the metal started turning red. It was super sweet, but it looks beautiful. Alrighty, so here's what's going on. We are in a very unique area, and on this side, this wall, on the other side of it, that is where our music mixer is. And for our live stream, what we're doing is getting a XLR cable. So one of the outputs, it's actually an independent output on the PreSonus. We're getting one of those outputs, which is an independent mix, into our live stream computer. And so it's pretty much a 100-foot cable, and that's how much it takes. Even though I'd say it's, if it were, as the crow flies, a straight line, probably 50 feet away, by the time you go underneath in the underground tunnels, then it's a 100-foot cord exactly. So there is already an existing hole over here. One is being used. I might have to drill another one in order to get the stereo cable, which is what I'm working on now. This is what the cable looks like coming out of the other side of the wall. Very simple. And so what I'm working on right now is getting a second one just like this. Now, it's not, in this case, it's not quite as simple as just plugging it into the mixer, because it has 1/4-inch outputs as opposed to XLR outputs. And so what I actually need is a direct box. And so this direct box has 2 1/4-inch slots. The one is an in, and then the other is an out. So what these are typically used for is, let's say your instrument cable, like a guitar, would plug in the one side, and then the other side you'd be able to plug into your amplifier. But it's not just as simple, it's not just that. The important part is that it also has an additional output, which is a XLR. And so it turns that unbalanced signal, unbalanced 1/4-inch, into a balanced. And so the advantage of this is that it can travel a long distance and still sound very good, still sound crystal clear. And in this case, 100 feet before it gets to the sacristy live stream mixer. These direct boxes typically have a couple different buttons on here. For example, it has decibel ratings, for example, over here. And depending on how loud your instrument or what type of signal is coming through it, you can switch between the 0 decibels, -20 dB, and -40. So it'll make it quieter and louder. It makes a difference, but it's something, honestly, you just play around with till you get it right. I have an old one here. I don't know how old this one is, but this is the one we are using for a while now. This is, I'd imagine, 20 years old. I just found it, and it's working well. And the idea right now is, by having 2, we'll have stereo. So now, if we do any panning in our mixes, let's say maybe have in our choir the tenors and basses, we could have them primarily on the right side, and then your sopranos and altos maybe on the left side. You know, a whole bunch of different options are all of a sudden opened up. And it's cool because in a live stream, like if people are listening maybe on YouTube or something back at home, if they have a digital surround sound system or any decent stereo system, then all of a sudden they'll be able to take advantage of some really nice audio, and it gives you some really cool options there. Granted, the church system is still mono, but if you can have a live stream that's stereo, that's kind of cool. You know, at first I was super frustrated with, I guess, the architecture of the building sometimes. It's like, this thing is not designed for wires, but I guess once you put your thinking cap on and start thinking like a contractor, I guess you just go through the wall. So this particular hole is a little bit more delicate, I would say, just because there are some really important wires over there. But the other side is clear, and especially seeing that the results from my other hole, the drill does a super nice job of keeping these holes perfectly circular and right where it needs to be. Just a small note to self. I encountered a rock on the way, and no matter how hard you try, literally no matter how hard you try, you are not going to go through the rock, so it's going to have to kind of go around.